Hey everybody, welcome back. It's episode 29 of the Common Woman Podcast.
Yay!
All right, today is a special day, guys. Huh?
Was that for Halloween?
What? The woohoo that I just did?
Oh, it was a little woo. I just realized I heard it, but like I didn't hear it, and so you said that.
I
was
didn't
like
even notice that.
You were a ghost.
I can't wait to hear this back and see what y'all are talking about. Whatever. Before I get into the introductions, I just wanted to shout out my daughter, our daughter, Babe and I. She turned 4 today. It's her birthday. Yay, happy birthday, Unai, even though you can't listen to podcasts.
Not this.
Not this one, for sure. So we had a little party at her school today, which was fun. So, you know.
Kids were turning up.
They
I saw
were.
the video. They were all dancing.
It was lit in her
cute.
classroom.
That's
So,
cute.
yeah, it was a lot of fun. Thank God my husband took off today to help me run around and do all kinds of craziness. And
Especially since he messed up the number. What?
Oh.
What?
Are we gonna broadcast that?
I broadcasted it.
So let me tell you, my husband, right?
You know
My
you got
husband
fire
is-
coming.
My husband
I'm
is
just saying.
amazing. He takes Inaya to school every morning. I'll start with love, right? He takes Inaya to school every morning. So I was like, look, ask the teacher how many kids are in the
It's
class.
early in the morning, yo.
So he comes back. He's like, babe, there's 8 kids in the class. I was like, okay, wow, that's a very small setting. That's great, you know. So I ordered everything on Amazon, plans everything out for 8 people. The day before, yesterday, right?
Yeah.
We're like doing the goodie bags and we're like, oh, how many boys are in the class? So he's like, oh yeah, they posted a class picture. Let's look at the picture. I was like, babe, there is way more than 8 kids in this class. He was like,
They weren't there.
I was
no
like,
more.
did you mean 18?
18.
So I
How you
texted the
10
teacher.
off?
It's-
man?
Yeah.
It was her accent.
A whole 10. Her accent ain't that
You
big.
just stopped at 8. She was like 8. He was like 8. Good, done. I'm out. You got to be faster with men. They not equipped for the long.
It was
I
like,
get the
maybe
teen
it's
part.
8 in each class of UPK. I was like, I don't know. I'm going to text the teacher. I texted her and she was like, yeah, 18 kids. I was like,
In one class.
so we had to scramble around and get other stuff today. So it was a fun, stressful morning, but it all
It wasn't
turned
that
out
bad.
wonderful.
Yeah, it wasn't that
Turned
bad.
out wonderful.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
You're worse.
He felt bad though. He's like, I'm so sorry this morning.
Oops.
No one noticed. No one noticed.
No, they just wanted to eat.
Yeah. Well, guys, I am your host,
Oh,
Courtney.
10 minutes.
I'm
in.
I
joined.
forget this every time.
I try to make a conscious effort to not forget, but you know, sometimes it slips, you know? I'm joined by my lovely, lovely bestie.
Melissa.
Also joined by the amazing Babe.
Hey.
And today we have a special
guest.
guest. Okay, guys, I'm really excited because not only is she an amazing person, but she is also my cousin.
Hey.
Her name is Sharice. She is, okay, let me give you the rundown of who this woman is
Get
right
it right.
here.
Get it right.
She is a licensed master's social worker.
Uh-huh.
She works with children. She empowers women. She has her own company. She is CEO of On This Journey. And she does like events and all kinds of stuff to inspire women. She helps women in shelters. She has conferences and she is just amazing.
You make me sound like I'm something.
You are. You are. So, you know, we are very pleased and honored to have you here to talk with us today.
Mhm.
So welcome to the common room.
Hey.
And don't be shy.
You
Get
got to
up
put
on that
some
mic.
bass in that voice.
Get up on the
okay?
mic.
Yeah.
Put some bass in that voice.
Talk like I mean it.
There
Yes.
it is.
There
There
she
it
is.
is.
She stepped
There it
in.
is.
Here she is. I'm glad to have you here because, you know, when we go out and we talk, we always have great, deep conversations.
We do. I feel pressured though.
She says she feels pressure, but at the same time, she kind of came up with today's topic. So,
I didn't mean for. I was just texting you.
She's
That's
like, I
what
didn't want to be on it.
see, you can't mess around and text me a good topic because I'll be like, okay, so you free next Friday?
you did. That's exactly what happened. I said, oh, I guess I'm coming. Okay, great.
Never
like-
texting a
she's
topic
like-
again.
She's like, what?
I'm never ever doing it ever
The funny
again.
thing is,
You
she
gotta
was
start
like,
with, here's a topic. I'm not coming though.
right, you gotta add the disclaimer on there.
Sorry, go
Because
ahead.
the funny thing is, she's like, so what are we talking about? I was like, what you just told me. This is a great topic.
Since you know about it.
That's exactly what happened. I was hoodwinked.
I'm sorry. We also have Anthony in the building. He's off on the sidelines. Oh, there's a mic right there. It's not plugged in?
No.
Oh. Oh. He screamed? Okay.
No, you cannot just scream. No.
It's only 4.
So we were kind of trying to figure out how we were going to introduce this topic because it's kind of like there's no real short way to say it, right? It's like we're talking about like red flags. We're talking about how do you know if like when you see a red flag, or are you seeing a red flag, or are you just
Something
know.
you should work through, kind of, rather
Yeah.
than jumping ship.
yeah.
So how do you phrase that in like one word?
I don't think you can.
I don't think so either.
I guess red flags. I don't know. Interpretation?
Should you stay or should you go?
That's,
Yo,
that's good.
look,
There you go.
That's good.
That's it.
look, that's what I wrote. That's funny. We're so in tune, I swear. Oh my God. Okay, it's taking me
She's
forever
really
to get
finding
to
her
it.
notes. It's taking you a long
Should I
time.
stay or should I go?
There it is.
All
There
right.
you go.
Should I stay or should I go?
Jata.
Bam.
Run.
We didn't
No.
plan that. We didn't plan that. There's so many different contexts to
Yeah.
whether you should stay or should you go. And I think you brought up a good point about like trust. Like it also has to do with
It has to do with you as
Right.
well, not just always the other person. That's what I like. I literally was driving along, and that's how it came to me. I was thinking about not just romantic relationships, but friendships just in general. When do you know if it's a good time to say, all right, this is too much for me, or I should.
Wow.
Sorry.
she laughed with purpose.
I've
and
been-
experience.
What was that laugh?
I understand that space very well. Go ahead.
Yes.
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, but yeah, should I work through this with the person? And then when people are there for you, sometimes it's like, am I obligated to stay because they stayed? And so I was just thinking about that. And then I know you guys do this. I said, oh, that would be a great topic for them to talk about.
For them and you.
And now here I am today. But yeah.
Welcome. Thank you, because it gets more and more difficult to find things to talk about every week, even though, there's plenty to talk about, but sometimes it's just like, slavery. But yeah. It's like you said, it's hard because you have it's not just about the other person.
Give
You
her
got
money.
you got
Damn.
She's
I'm
on
excited.
You ain't always gotta put on blast.
Thank you for sticking
I
up for
got
me
you,
for one
girl.
smell.
Oh, wham!
And second and last time. FYI.
I
Saw that,
mean,
right?
I mean,
Struck back
y'all
hard,
see how
real
they
quick.
be
I'm going
teamed up
back on
against
Babe's
me.
You
side.
see that? You see what happens to you?
Anthony's
Yeah,
on my
right.
side.
right?
Clearly.
I
Anthony's
claimed
like, I don't want no parts
He's
of
like,
this.
I'm not a part of
I don't
this.
want no parts of
I
this.
claimed Anthony though,
Good
because
job.
he's a fellow Torres.
Good job.
So back to what I was trying to stutter out.
Yeah.
You have to measure yourself and your feelings against what you're seeing too, because
Right.
sometimes we have trust issues. Sometimes we're not interpreting things correctly. So it's like, okay, am I just seeing things, or is this really something I need to pay attention to? And is it something that I should be like, okay, no, I can't do this? Because
Yeah.
everybody has different tolerances and
Right.
thresholds for what they can tolerate and what they can't. Because no one is perfect.
Right.
No one's perfect. So everybody's going to have their issues. So it's like, all right, what is it that's going to drive you away and making that determination?
Well, I think, because I don't know if I have a full answer yet as to what would cause you to stay or what would cause you to go, but I do think when you have standards set for yourself in regards to your relationships with other people, that kind of helps guide and gauge whether you stay or you go.
That's a good
Because
point.
everybody, like you said, doesn't have the same tolerance. And something that I was also thinking about is sometimes it's a red flag to others, but because of the way the person was brought up, it's just common. So it might not be necessarily a red flag to them. So do you not blame them, but do you hold them accountable for something that they don't even know is considered a red flag?
But does that... So you're saying because someone was exposed to the red flag behavior in their past, that it doesn't appear as a red flag to them. It's familiar almost.
Right. Because let's take, say for instance, finances. Some people are brought up to really pay attention to your finances, to budget. Some people are not. They just spend frivolously.
Me. I am amongst the not.
And so for me, that would be a red flag. Like if you're always spending your money, not saving, not budgeting, that's a red flag
It's
for
a
me.
red flag for me too, girl.
But for you,
I'm a big old red flag.
but for somebody else, that might not mean anything.
Right.
So should I, because maybe your parents didn't teach you how to budget, or maybe your parents, whatever the case may be. So for you just like, what's the problem?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's a big problem.
Right.
So I think upbringing has a lot to do with flags
That's
and
very
how
true.
we, consider them.
It sure does.
It really does.
My dad is very responsible. So when I see men that can't even pick up a check, I'd be like, you're the struggle train. Now I don't want to get on it. I don't want to get on it.
I'll wait for the next.
I'm going to wait for the next one. Scoot on by.
But on that same point, like, do you just say to them, do you explain to them and give them some input if they're willing to take it, or do you just say, all right, I'm waiting on the next train and that's it?
But sometimes
That's a good
that might
point.
be maturity level too.
Yes.
If they're not being responsible with that, then usually there's a lot of other things that come along with that. So they might not get that message. They might not take it the way you're intending it.
So you think they'd be offended?
Oh yeah.
But then it's like you said too, a maturity thing. So if you did bring it to their attention and they're like, whatever kind of thing, and they kind of reject it, then right then and there, all right, maybe I should move on. Because if they can't even take like advice or constructive criticism, then this is not the type of person that I want to be with. Like, I want to be with someone who's open to hearing things and open to working and growing together.
What?
There it
That was a long exhale.
Man. Suelta.
Remember how I said once on one of the podcasts that like I feel like I've tried to groom men.
Yeah.
I don't want to groom anymore. I feel like I'm in an age group that you should
just know.
You should have it together, or be in the process of having it together with certain things. I think that finances is one of those. I think that if you're in a hole, then you should at least have a clue. You know though. You just don't do it.
Okay.
But y'all are mad. I mean, but it's different. I just feel like I'm not gonna be financially okay and walk into a very serious situation of someone who's like 50 G's in debt, doesn't know how to money manage. Like, why am I walking into that?
Right.
And what do I have to really sit down and discuss money management with you and hope that you get it together and wait the years that it's gonna take for you to get that together? That's not an overnight thing.
Okay, so wait, but
that's not an overnight situation.
It's not. But what if they have everything else?
What else he got?
No, I'm not saying like finance wise, but like everything else is like his personality. I mean, like things that you're looking for. Everything else. But this is.
Oh God.
Y'all ain't shit, and I don't even know why you're talking on the top.
Oh my God.
I'm done with this crew. Okay. Go ahead. Okay. Okay. Back to what you're saying. So you're saying he has other things together.
Attributes that you are for and that you like.
I feel like that's a big thing.
I mean, I agree with
that
you.
That to me is too big of a situation. See, I need to know how much debt you're in. Because I'm at the age where now, you know, we're going to get together, we're going to date, we're going to get serious, and we're going to get, you know, we're going to move in together. We're going to get a place together. Like, how this is really going to be an issue.
Right. And you know what? That's a good point, Mel, because one of the number one reasons why people get divorced is because of financial reasons. Yeah. So being that this is something that's really important to you, and you already know this is your barometer right here. Like, you know that you're not trying to get with somebody, no matter what else their qualities are, who is in a bad financial situation and not, you know, trying to do anything to fix it. You know, okay, I'm not going to go for this person. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I don't think there's anything wrong. But what if in your communicating, you find that they're open to being groomed in that area? Are you saying you're just not doing it? Because you said you don't want to groom anybody.
I'm not doing it. I'm personally not doing it. Okay. Because that's a situation. Well, we have to know how much is this debt. If you're about 30 and up, that's a long fucking time for me to wait to see if you really get it together. You can listen to me talk all day. You can say yes, yes, yes. But I have to wait and see if that gets straightened out. So you don't. And now I'm investing how long? And then what if you're just you're talking shit to me and you don't get it together? And now I'm 3 years, I've wasted time, and you're still that broke and in a bad place. And I'm, you know what I'm saying? We can't move forward because you're stagnant in this place.
I mean, when it comes down
to it,
for
me, it's a no. For me, it's a no.
I get that, and I respect that. I respect that. But at the same time, whenever you come together with somebody, the two of y'all are going to be working on different things. Yes. Always. There's always going to be something to work on. But you got to know your threshold.
Right. And your standard.
Mm-hmm. I get it.
30 and up is too much. It's too much.
Yeah, so 30 and under, you'd be willing to.
I mean, what is this debt though? Do you own a house? Do you own a house?
Is it student loan debt? And he's like has a really good career.
Different. Exactly. There's. I need to know what this is. Yeah. Exactly.
Is he paying all his bills on time?
Are you just irresponsible?
You know what I'm saying?
I need to know more things. I'm not just, you know, but
he's not
if you have really bad debt and you're just spending frivolously and you're just not good with finances, I'm not dealing with it.
Right.
It can cause problems.
And that's why I think
I like burps, and it was like all on the mic. I hope it didn't.
I don't think it picked it up. It usually doesn't pick it up.
It was rough. Yeah. Sorry. Go.
No, but yeah, I think that's why it's important. What I find nowadays, people don't really communicate.
Yes.
So it's not until you're in it and per se you're either liking the person a lot or you think this is a good friend, whatever have you, and then something comes up and it's like we hit a roadblock. But if we would have talked, you know, maybe we could have assessed this before we got to this point.
Yeah. That's why early on it's important to ask certain questions. Once you're starting to get closer and it's more comfortable and it's, you know, communication as well, you have to ask these questions.
Ask all them questions.
You have to. Yeah.
Yeah, and I also think we settle a lot because you feel like, you know, am I going to get somebody else?
Yeah.
That's always the fear.
So
that's always the fear. But yes, there's always someone else, guys.
There is.
There's always someone else.
I feel like there's different levels. I feel like every time you meet someone, you can take it as a learning experience. And if that's not the right person for you, okay, take what you learned from that relationship and then, you know, move on. But staying in the relationship and settling is just going to hold you back from moving up to the next level of person that you're supposed to meet. So
I'm torn. Because I feel like
tell me.
Sometimes people move on prematurely because they, like you said, and I'm not knocking what you said, but they don't
come knock. What's up?
You know, like they don't want to groom. They don't want to, you know, you just want a well put together package,
right? Without
having to, and I won't necessarily say do the work, but stick in while the other person is doing the work.
It really depends on what it is.
Right.
It really depends on what it is.
And I hate the word groom also.
Yeah.
I don't like groom. Because it implies that I'm put together and I'm in a higher position maybe to, you know, make you better.
So what's better?
Just working together on our issues. Because I got issues. you know.
I mean,
right, and that's what I was thinking about when I was thinking about this topic. Like, who am I? And I feel like there are certain things that are just, there's no lines being, you know, this is it. So, like, let's say if a person is abusive or something like that, that's a flag for sure.
Absolutely.
Like, we don't want to stay in that situation. We want to get out. But then there are certain things that it's not necessarily black and white. It's gray, and it's just like, my thinking now is, though, how long do I stay? You know, how long do I wait it out? Is this something that deserves, because some people haven't had anybody who's worked with them.
What are you willing to work through?
Let's see. Guess I should have thought about that.
I know that if I date someone and they have some jealous tendencies, I can work through that. Right. We can discuss that. We can try to work through that.
So now that you said that, I think for me, I know I have trust issues, right? So because of things that I've been through, situations that I've been in. So if I am in a relationship with somebody and that comes up, I don't necessarily want them to leave, because that is something that I am personally trying to work on. So those type of things, I feel like it can be worked through, but a lot of times people don't work through it because, one, we're just used to having it our way. If you can't do it how I want it, I'm out of here. And I feel like you could possibly, I'm not saying that it's always, but you could possibly miss out on something good.
But there's always levels to it.
And
there's always levels to it, because how jealous are you? Are you doing drive-bys, knocking on my door unannounced and doing the most? Because if you're blowing up my phone and leaving me like crazy messages, you gotta go.
There's a healthy and unhealthy
there's just
level.
levels to everything.
And you know what? I think the question of whether you should stay or should go, or if you should work through things, comes down to trusting yourself. Because I believe that we all have this God-given ability to, you know, instinctually know if something is worth it or not, if this person is for us or not, if we should pay attention to this and move on or stay. So if you don't trust yourself, if you don't trust your decision making, then you're not going to recognize the feeling. I think you said that maybe in episode 1 or 2. So it's very important to do that work on yourself, to do the, you know, to figure out what that voice is inside of you, what it means, and interpret that in order to make those decisions. Because when I started to do that for myself, that's when I made better decisions in terms of men, because I completely ignored it for like most of the relationships beforehand. And it was really hard because it's like, I didn't know, you know, it's like I would hear things and I would think to myself, oh, wow, like I knew this, but I still kept going. So it's like, if I had just recognized the voice within me and listened to it, then I could have made the right decision and I could have gotten to him maybe sooner, you know, than later. So I definitely think that trusting yourself is the key to understanding when to stay or leave. What do you guys think?
Oh, I'm all in that. You already know. I've said that enough, so I'm good.
I mean, I think that's true, but I think sometimes, I just think we mess up sometimes and miss out on things. But I think, like you said, it's important to regulate your own self, because while other people can be a flag, you can be a flag for somebody else. And so a lot of times we always blame people, but we don't want to see ourselves. And so that's something that I was thinking about as well when I was thinking about this topic. Am I a flag? You know, because
I've been a flag.
Am I a flag?
Yeah,
that's a deep question. Yeah.
And in some areas, I would say I am a flag. Like, you should see this, but I know these things about myself because I take time to, you know, think about what is happening in my life and trying to work on it. And so that's why I think I have the stance of, I don't always want a person to say, all right, this is your issue, or rather me looking at a person saying, this is your issue and I'm out of here. Right. Because I know I have some stuff that I'm working on and maybe we can work through it together. Now, there, like you said, there are certain things that are, you know, I'm putting my foot down here. This is not happening. And I agree with that. But then I think, you know, we just as a people want it our way so bad sometimes that we're not willing to work through things. And like, I think about my grandparents. They were married for over 50 years. And so everything wasn't good all the time. There were some flags.
Yeah.
My grandfather, I love the best grandfather ever, but he did some things, and it's just like my grandmother stayed.
They all did. That was the time.
And that was
the time.
The time that they were in.
Mm-hmm.
But
I'm grateful to not be in that time.
Yeah. I've heard that so many times.
Sitting in something that's shitty.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, for them, you know, it worked out to be a good thing at the end, you know, towards the end, you know.
It's always at the end when they're old as shit and can't do anything. I'll get married then. I don't.
That's kind of like the meme that you sent me with Gucci, and the girl, she stayed.
Yeah.
And so, you know, he went through all of that, and now he's, you know, doing better. But she waited it out.
I'm sorry.
So you're on board with waiting it out?
Not all the time, but there are some times that I think that you should wait.
Would you get back with someone who cheated?
See, my outlook on this, I don't know if we want to voice this here, but
go ahead. We want to voice it.
We sure do.
Let it out.
I don't know if I should say that.
Say it,
please.
Now you gotta say it.
Say it.
This is gonna sound so bad.
All right.
But okay, I'm just gonna say it.
Just say it. Just say it.
The reason why I don't have a yes or no answer for that, black or white, is almost because I feel like everybody cheats.
Oh, you're one of the everybody cheats people.
Dance how you do it.
Please explain.
See, I didn't want to say that.
No, it's all right. But you're not the only one with this opinion. I have a whole girl who has the same opinion.
When you say everybody cheats, do you mean at some point in their life they're going to cheat?
Or in every relationship?
In every relationship they're going to cheat?
I won't say everybody, but I will say, like, in most relationships, I feel like somebody has cheated.
Have you cheated in many relationships?
No, I haven't.
You've never cheated?
But I have experienced.
Have you ever cheated?
No.
So it's possible to not cheat.
We're
just giving these fools a pass.
That's what I say.
It's possible to not cheat.
That's what I say.
Okay.
I do believe that. But I believe we live in an age where it happens. And that's something that I think about being married. Like, if my spouse cheated on me, would I give them a second chance? Like, I feel like that's something that I think about.
We live in an age where this happens. I think we live in an age where people are accepting it too much.
Yeah. I was going to say the same thing. It's the age of where we're giving everyone a pass. Yeah. And this has become the behavior that is like, okay, well, this is just what happens.
Yeah.
No.
No, I'm saying that's what I feel like.
If I can go through a relationship and I'm not cheating, then there's no excuse for you to be going through it and having to cheat.
Yep.
We're not so fucking different that you are a man and that's just what you do. No,
it's not that hard to be monogamous when you're in a good relationship, when you're with the right person. It's really not that hard.
In a good relationship with the right person.
Right?
Yes,
keywords. Yes.
Make it clear.
But I mean, it's a real fear though.
What's funny is I was on the fence the last time that we spoke about this, about how, you know, there's gray areas. It's not so black and white.
I remember
and
that.
each relationship is different. The only reason I held that position is because I know of just very few couples that have gone through it and came out the other side and have been stronger.
Good for them, man.
You know what I'm saying? But
I guess it depends on the person. I personally couldn't do it. I'm too black and white in that aspect.
Me too.
Yeah.
But it's exactly that. Because if you're a person who can forgive someone for that, then by all means, good for you.
You know what it is? 'Cause
I can do it.
me personally, I would think of all the things, like, you're married to this person. You've been with this person X amount of years. You've been through all these things. You've worked through all these things. And this is how you pay me back?
yeah.
Yeah. There's just certain things that are just, to me, it's like an ultimate betrayal on too many levels.
And I feel like I've had men cheat on me and I've taken them back and they've done it again. And so I was thinking about this for a little while because I played the fence for a while. I wasn't sure how I felt about it. But not okay, not dealing with it, unexcusable, done.
Yeah.
Don't come back to me. I'm good. Yeah. I'm not playing it. I'm just, that's my personal thing.
And I also know myself. Like, I'm if he did it once, he's going to do it again type of thinker. And I know that I'm going to always have that in the back of my head. I'm never going to let you, I might say I forgive you, but I'm never going to let you feel like I've forgiven you. And then what kind of a relationship is that? So it might not even be you anymore. It'll be me. So I know I can't do it.
I don't like the feeling of looking over the shoulder constantly and I want to see your phone and that whole, it's like, who wants to live like this?
Yeah.
It's a rough life to live. I've been in it way too many times. It's rough.
I guess we're not writers, Mel.
Oh.
Because that's what that post said.
That she was a writer because she stayed.
Yeah.
They have made that into such a thing. That's the way that they glorify women who sit in this position.
Exactly. And they put them up on this pedestal like, oh, this is what you should be like.
Because they want to be able to walk all over you and come back when they want. And I think it's really sad that women are commenting on this post like, yeah, I'm a writer. Yeah, I love her and I love them. This relationship is not to be glorified. He's a whole piece of shit. Walked all over her. Yeah. I mean, cool. Maybe you're better now. Who knows? But
has that always been your thought, or what did it take?
But
you to
get out of here. Being cheated on and then taking them back and being cheated on again, and it's just not. You don't respect me. Right. You don't respect the relationship, and so why am I sitting here respecting it?
Right.
And you're not
by myself.
Right.
Now I can't say I agree with that meme and everything that she stayed through. That wouldn't have been me. But some women do stay for those type of things rather, and it works out like you said at the end. So
I'm not, and you know what too? It's also probably I'm in such a peaceful place by myself right now that it baffles me to get into a situation to not be at peace.
Right.
I don't need that.
Right.
But I think it depends on what people are looking for. Some people are looking for just like somebody to be their safety net or somebody to protect them rather. So if you can do all of that but you protect me, I'll stay. Right. Like it depends on what a person is looking for.
Protect from what though?
Like just to feel safe. Some people, let's say, didn't grow up with a father. So if you're in the picture and you're there, I'll take that because that's what I'm looking for. So you can go out and do whatever you. I'm telling you,
that's interesting. Like no, that's interesting. No, I hear you. I don't know. I had my dad, so I don't know. I don't have that void. I guess I don't have that void.
For some people. So when I have somebody who, can make sure that we're set, like can pay the bills, all of this kind of stuff, but you going out and cheating, I'm going to turn a blind eye because you're giving me what I'm looking for in an instant.
Like a comfort and a stability.
Right.
I agree with that.
I guess it just depends what it is that you want. Right. If that's your main concern and that's what you want. I'm not saying that that's right all the time or that that's helpful. If you can handle that relationship and that is it's good for both of you as a unit, you're good with that, then Godspeed.
I mean, no woman I feel wants their partner or their husband to cheat. Right. But if you're giving me something else that I'm benefiting from, it's a little bit easier.
Some women might not be bothered by it.
Right.
Yeah. I could definitely see that.
There are women that know that their spouses are cheating.
Right.
Like they absolutely know. And not that they're okay with it, they rather them not, but you're giving me everything else. So you go do what you're going to do.
I could definitely see that.
I'm not going to knock them, but I'm not built.
Well, just so everybody knows what we're talking about. We're talking about the Shade Room reposted a post that Snoop Dogg put up about Gucci Mane and his wife. It says, everyone wants this, but what y'all forget was, sorry, it's hard to read this, where she was with Wild Gucci, on drugs Gucci, cheating Gucci, in jail Gucci, publicly with other women Gucci. This is Gucci after therapy. They're referring to their wedding picture. Rehabilitation. This is a street man groomed in his 30s. Groomed. I hate that word. In his 30s after he's been at his lowest. Point is, this is a writer, capital letters too, who knew that she signed up for, or who knew what she signed up for. You B words is with the next N word after a couple fights. Mm-hmm. And then Gucci Man posts, I guess, yes sir, my wife is my secret weapon. Ooh. So
how do you really feel?
That's how I feel about it. So the Shade Room wrote in the comments, do you have to hold your man down through thick and thin before getting the best version of him?
Well, I think that also depends on when you get with him. So if you're younger,
right.
you're gonna go through some of those things,
right?
But like you said, now we at a certain age where you're not doing certain stuff.
Like get your life.
So I think it depends, and that's another thing about the flags. Like I think flags are determined by what stage you're in life. So it's not always the same for somebody who is older as opposed to
when you're young, you got time to waste. Mm-hmm. You're not even really thinking about forever. You're just coasting through.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. I also think if their situation or issues are stunting your growth, then that's when it's okay, I gotta reevaluate this. You know, sustained stunting your growth. But you're right, though.
I mean, if he's putting you through constant turmoil, obviously, you're definitely.
Yeah. I'm not sticking around for that. But you're right about when it happens in the relationship, because, he's been a great husband and man to me for years and years and years. So, God forbid if something happened in his life that just really took him down, he spiraled and he was struggling with something, I would be there for him because he's been there for me all these years. You know what I mean? And I know his character. I know who he is. And I know that, okay, this is something that he's really struggling with. He needs my support. I would stick by him. You know what I mean? But if I met him in that state, I would have kept walking.
Absolutely.
So you think time helps you defend a red flag or stay if it's a flag or if something becomes a flag?
It's time and knowledge of who the person is that you're dealing with. Because if all you know is their issue and you don't know of the character of the person, if they're resilient, if they're going to come out of it, if they're going to be there for you I don't think people change.
People change.
You don't think
I do. I'm talking about
wait, in what
I'm
manner,
talking
though?
about of drugs and alcohol.
Oh, they change.
Addicts change. So how long do you sit in it? How long do you try to bring them out of it? How long? It's that, because that's going to weigh on you, because the person that you knew has definitely changed if they're an addict of any kind.
Does that usually happen late in life though, or is becoming an addict of some sort something that develops earlier in life? It can happen anytime.
It can happen anytime.
Yes, anytime.
And especially if it's something that you have the propensity to go towards, but you maybe don't do it at a certain point. If it's in you, it can come up at any time.
Yep.
Basis by basis. Okay.
Yeah. This is a case by case.
But I can't say I can write. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I can't. You can't. I feel like you can't really say whatever happens, I'm always here, because it might not be the case. You're because right. God forbid you spiral for a long time. You're not coming out. You have a kid. You both have a kid. Can you really keep your child in this toxicity?
True. Very true. Yeah. Yeah, you're
so
right.
that
you're
just,
right.
you can't. Go ahead, sorry.
No, that's a good point. I actually had that conversation the other day with a friend. Like, how long do you stay? Like, you know, they have kids, but it's a different situation. It's a different situation, and it's just like, do I stay because of the kids, or
no? Sorry.
But some people do stay. Like, I have another friend who's staying because of the kids.
Yeah.
So,
you know, it's so tricky. Often. It's so tricky because you think that you're doing something beneficial for the child by staying. But now if the child is watching toxic behavior,
right.
Exactly.
Now they're taking this on, they're internalizing it, and now this is okay.
Don't know how to cope.
Yes. And so you're doing more damage than good.
It's interesting that a lot of parents don't realize how intuitive their children are and how perceptive and what they're absorbing. It's astonishing to me, but we get wrapped up in our own stuff.
It's hard not to.
Well, I asked
You conducted a poll.
I conducted a poll to see what people thought about this Gucci Mane situation.
Taking a poll.
So I asked, would you stay with someone who cheated, abused drugs, alcohol, or went to jail? And 29% said yes. Oh, wow. 71% said no. So I was really, I don't know if I was shocked, but I was surprised that there was a couple people who said yes. And interesting. Corey had messaged us and had an interesting perspective, and basically he was saying that the people who said no probably have not had any experience with this trauma, and the people who said yes probably have been exposed to it, or you know. So
I agree with that.
He said that's his theory.
I agree with that.
Let me make sure
I think that if you grew up with a parent who had some type of addiction,
speaking from experience,
you might, you've dealt with it so much of your life growing up that you might be willing to, because it's a little normal for you. So I think that's correct. I've never dealt with that, so I would run the other way because I'm like, no, that looks crazy.
See, I can't agree to that because from my own experiences growing up, with my parents and my father and his little things, let's say, his extracurricular activity, I don't do that, and it's just something that I don't think is right.
Well, that's talking about you and what you do as a person, but we're talking in response to what you'll accept from your partner.
But that's what I'm saying, and at the same token, I won't accept that either.
Oh, okay.
Because I don't think it's right. I saw what it did in my family's dynamic growing up and all that stuff. So for me, that's like, why do I want to put my family through it? Why do I want to put my child through it?
I think it's 50-50. I think some will gravitate away from it, and some are going to gravitate towards it.
Right.
And I think women are a little more inclined to gravitate towards it.
I see.
Because we have that caregiver, mommy, nurturing situation going on. So we might feel up to the task.
You're taking my notes here.
Exactly.
I know. We both had that in our notes too.
We literally both.
And I have no notes.
Off the dome.
I
told you don't need notes.
But
I think because as women we are nurturing. So sometimes when we see a flag, it doesn't necessarily come across as a flag. It comes across as this is something that I can help the person with, and let me jump to it. So it's not always seen as a flag. And then in that situation, it could be very detrimental. But then in some situations, the person has never had anybody to stick by them. So it works out for you. So I think, like you were saying, it's case by case scenario in across the board in relationships and friendships.
Yeah, I definitely am guilty of that. Because what you were saying about sometimes you're like I'm a helper. Like I like to help people, especially with like issues like personal, psychological, whatever. So, I feel like I held on to my past friendship that I told you guys about because of that in me. And it was almost like a what do they call it? Codependency. Because I felt like she needed me, but I also needed her to need me.
Right.
And in her needing me, it almost kind of made me feel better if I felt like I was helping her. And I hate to say it and admit that because it just makes me feel like, oh, really?
And that's why I think
really, Cortnie?
Before you assess somebody else, you have to think about your own self. Because we gravitate to people sometimes because of what we're lacking. And so I think it's very important to say, okay, what am I lacking? Why am I allowing this red flag? Or why am I
Sorry, that was like that.
Wait, what?
I was repeating what she said. We gravitate towards people because of what we're lacking. It was.
I was so like, wait.
I'm sorry.
Why
I whispered
is it a whisper?
I wanted her to say it again. Sorry, guys.
You do know it comes up on the mic.
Sorry, you were on a train of thought. I don't want you to lose your train of thought.
No, but it's true. And if we don't like to be honest about stuff like that, we like to always blame the other person. But sometimes we're in relationships because of our own deficiencies. And sucks sometimes, but it's the truth.
It sucks admitting that.
Yeah, right.
It really
sucks admitting it, but it's the truth.
Mm.
And I think when you think about the fact that the flags aren't always something that I thought about, don't have to be big. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the flags are small things. Mm-hmm. And it turns into a big thing because you allowed it, or you didn't say anything, or maybe you didn't even notice it.
Yeah.
And then that's when it becomes detrimental and a danger. But now you're in a position of, if you've been with somebody for any amount of time and you put that time in, it's like, do I go now? Mm-hmm. Or how do I even get out? Like, where do I start? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's someplace where I've been. Mm-hmm. Someplace where I've been.
And where did you end up? Like, how did you make the decision?
Staying too long, and then things blow over and it becomes a bad situation. And so I know that that's a thing because I don't like conflict as well. Mm-hmm. So that's something that I'm working on, because that will cause you to stay longer when you know you should go. Mm-hmm. But then there are times where I've looked back on friendships per se, and I'll say, okay, I could have stuck in this a little bit longer. Mm-hmm. And it was me rather than it being them. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you don't see that. You see it in retrospect. So
that's interesting to see it that way. Like, I can't imagine that feeling of feeling like you left too soon. How do you know that? Like, what makes you feel that you left too soon? Because you clearly had a reason to leave. So
right.
it's like,
and
why was
I think in any
soon?
Relationship, there are... what's happening?
No, I'm laughing at her. I'm laughing at her. Because she's so black and white. So it's like, I don't understand. She's like, I don't understand where your greatness is.
No gray.
But that's greatness. Well, explain your greatness.
No, I am. She's right. That's why
I
you
really
are.
When you fuck up, you fuck up. Like, there's no explaining the fuck up. Like, you fucked up.
Take it for what it is.
That's how you are.
And that's,
but that's why I ask questions.
I'm getting like her.
That's why I ask questions, because I like to hear other people's perspectives, because it opens my mind more.
No, that's why I told her. But did you cheat?
You know?
So there's no gray. There's the
no
black
gray?
and white. If you ain't cheat, he don't need to be cheating. So Cortnie is like molding me into this black and white.
You're not gonna blame me for that.
Yeah.
I might need to come hang out with you more to be black and white.
Yeah, but I feel like gray area gets you in trouble.
You're right.
Gray gets you in trouble. I got that from him, so we're gonna bring it back to the original black and white.
The originator of the black and white.
Super black and white.
Explain your grayness. Why did you feel that you left
more
prematurely?
So in friendships, sometimes I feel like people grow and they change. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, not that you have to take everything that a person gives, but sometimes I say I could have stayed a little bit longer because that person wasn't their full self yet. So they made mistakes, maybe because we were younger, or maybe because they just really didn't have any idea of how they should have acted. Mm-hmm. And now, like, I actually have a friend like that now. I think they get it. And
I'm sorry, but how do you know that you leaving didn't propel them into becoming their greater self?
There's that gray area again.
Because I feel like I get what you're saying.
Because I just feel like sometimes people just jump too soon.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying it's like a gut feeling?
I don't know if it's a gut feeling, but sometimes
I think it's self-doubt.
You can pull away.
Mm-hmm.
You don't,
so you're thinking
you don't have to like completely cut.
self-doubt.
I think that you can pull away.
I agree with that.
And create a nice space.
But see, also like...
I'm sorry.
The other thing, you're right. Though, Cortnie, yes, you are the black and white queen, apparently.
She is. She really is.
It's, though, and I have some gray areas, but it's hard for me to pull back. Like, in that kind of area, either I'm giving you all of me, or you're getting nothing.
I used to be that way.
So, like, to say...
You have to learn then.
I do have to learn how to... like
temper it,
just give less
myself.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I was speaking with my best friend actually, and my friends, we all grew up together. So I've been with them since I was a kid. Mm-hmm. So I didn't, as a kid, you don't say, all right, I'm giving this, I'm not giving this. You know, you just give everything. Mm-hmm. And so now, being mature and an adult, it's hard for me sometimes to differentiate. Okay, I can give you this, but I can't give you that. And so I think that's why it's a little bit hard for me to be, you know.
Well, let me correct myself. You don't have to. You can give or don't.
Right.
If that's what you choose to do.
Right.
But if you feel that you don't want to completely.
And that's the hard part. Because you're saying, you know, just give some and not all. And that's hard for me. Either you're getting it all or you're not.
I'm
getting better at it.
I was the same way as you.
Well,
I'm learning that from you, Mel.
I just feel, what'd you say?
I'm learning that from you.
Oh, I just feel like I've realized that being too close to someone when they're in a space that is negative to me, it drains me. And so, but we're all allowed to go through our you know, our stages. You know, I've went through a toxic stage. I mean, we all do it. So me pulling away is just, we can be in contact, but you're not going to be like, we talk all the time. We hang out all the time and we're spending so much time together, because I can't give you all of that, because you give me more negative than the positive. But I know that a part of me hopes that you're not going to stay in this space forever. This is not a permanent situation. So I'm just going to, I know you, but I'll love you from here.
Yeah.
I can't do all of that.
It's important.
Okay.
So you can stay in contact, but it's not an all the time situation. You're not always in my space. You're not always sucking energy from me.
And I get that, and I agree with that, because I have a friend who I'm actually there with, and she's just a lot, and I just couldn't do it anymore, and I'm okay with that.
We outgrow people,
right?
Yeah.
But I think you the person, have to be at that point. And so with her, like you said, it was too much. Like, you was bothering my brain.
I feel like you have to know yourself.
Right.
Yeah, you have to know.
But then there are some people that you're not ready to do that with. And so it makes it a little bit harder. And maybe that's where I feel like I could have stayed a little bit more, because you know people, and then you see them.
You say you're not ready to do that because
there it is.
Are you saying you're not ready to do that because you deep down you really want to keep this friendship, but at the same time you know that it's not a good relationship for you right now?
In this instance, right? It's not productive.
Okay.
And so, but then when you know people and you feel like, for me, there are some friends that I have, and I feel like, who else is going to be a friend to them? Like, when you, and not that it's my responsibility. Yeah. I'm not saying that. Because I feel like you're about to jump on me.
No.
I totally understand what you're saying.
I was going to say, was this the friend that is now making you realize that you don't need to completely cut someone off?
Yes, one of them.
Okay, so she just might be part of your lesson. It doesn't, you know, she came into your life to teach you something. Take it. If y'all were that close, you can probably eventually come back together at some point, if that's what you want to do.
I'm thinking.
What?
What?
You giving?
No. I'm with it. I'm with it. I'm trying to keep my black and whiteness over here.
You see some gray? Like, you have some gray that you'd like to share?
Yeah, she sees it.
In my life?
No, just black and white. No, okay.
No, but I get it. It's hard. It's hard to, like, temper that. Like, I don't know.
It's a delicate balance. It's a dance. Basically.
Everybody holds different places.
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to be right here 100%. And we can't give everybody 100% because then we have nothing left for ourselves. Right. So I get it. And
what I am learning in regards to flags is that it might not affect you now, but it'll affect your future.
Right.
So you have to be mindful. And sometimes that's hard, like, because right now things are working out, things are good, and we don't always look down the line. So that's something that I'm managing through and going through.
And then when you said you think about, like, okay, who else is going to be their friend? Like, I had wrote down, do you love them or do you feel obligated to help them? That just reminded me of that note. It's like sometimes you kind of feel bad. Like, you just want to stick around. Just
because I look, and I think that's just me by nature. Like, I look at people sometimes and, they're just in bad relationships all around. And it's like, who's telling you the truth? Like, who is being a real friend to you? And one thing I do know about myself is I consider myself to be a good friend, a real friend. And so I think that's why it's hard to separate sometimes, because but that goes back to what you say, like that might be something within me. Like I want you to see that I'm a good friend, and you know, I don't know. I don't know.
Almost like a validation,
right,
in a way.
Kind of, sort of.
Yeah.
But
guilty
yeah.
of that as well. Super guilty of that.
You have a lot of over there. You have something to say?
I'm just agreeing.
That's your
agreement.
Are you?
That's my agreeing thing.
That's your agreement.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's only one more point that I wanted to make, because you mentioned something. Oh my God, I'm losing it. What did you say? Oh, when you were like, you think you may have left too soon. I don't know. It just came across to me as like you're doubting yourself, like you're doubting the decision that you made, in a way.
Kind of, sort of, a little bit.
And then that goes right back around to trusting yourself. Because if you're doubting a decision that you made, then you don't trust the decision that you make. You don't trust yourself.
And I don't know if it's not that I don't trust myself, because I know personally in this particular situation, this person, like, we're not going to go all the way together. There are some people who are going to be your forever friend. And then there are some people who are just going to be with you for a certain amount of time. So I do get all of that. But on the same hand, because of some of the things that the person has said to me and feel like I should have stuck it out a little bit longer, some things I agree with. But I just know you wouldn't be good for where I'm trying to go right now.
Right.
So it's not that I don't trust my decision. I just feel bad, maybe. You know?
I can see that.
And there are some people, and I think it makes it worse when, per se, it's not something that, like a big traumatic thing that happened. Sometimes it's just life. Yeah. And
you have to remember, though, the feelings that you felt in that moment, because there was a reason why you put that space and you ended a friendship or whatever you did with that person. You have to remember what you felt in that moment, because right now you're over it. So it might not seem as bad as it was, right, but you felt something. So don't discredit that. There's a reason.
Could it also be something of where you might even feel a little guilty?
In some instances, I do feel guilty just because of the type of situation it was. It's just playing two fields, because I know it wouldn't work out, but then on the same hand, I feel like it just sucks a little bit, because I know that they're not all wrong in feeling how they feel. So
that's hard working through that. I get it.
And that's why I say flags aren't always big. Sometimes flags are, you know, if I stay with you, I'm going to miss my future. Yeah. Or, you know, something like that. And it's not something that you did, or it's not something that was put me in turmoil per se, but it's just not aligning. It's not parallel to where I'm trying to go. Exactly. And that makes you look bad, you know, because it's like you just left me. And what now?
There's that pause.
What?
I don't know. I just feel like when you're growing, if people, not everyone's gonna be on your timing, but it's okay to outgrow and just leave people okay behind. I can't, because I just.
But I think, like, I have some friends who is just like, just leave them. It don't matter. Da, da, da. Like, I'm not like that, and that's just my personality. Like, I am generally one of those people, but I'm learning now that.
No, I don't like ending friendships either. I feel a way about it too, because if I really call you my friend, it's gut wrenching for me to have to sever it. But that's why I've come to a point where, okay, maybe I don't have to sever it. Maybe, but I know that I need to create a space and some boundaries, because we're in two very different spaces. Yeah, and I can't stay there with you,
and you will not hold me back.
So we, and I hope that you come eventually here. Right. But if not, eventually you'll probably just fade away, and that's just what it needs to be.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah, I agree
100.
with that too.
Well, y'all.
All right.
Did we broach all of the topics that we...
Wow.
Did you broach?
She's been getting better and better.
And it's not the one you wear on your shirt either.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not going to go there. There was one other thing I wanted to talk about, but we can talk about that another time. Okay, I'll just say it. So one thing that I was wondering is, does it matter if, like when we were talking about the red flags, is this something that's within their control? Like sticking with someone through cheating, that's in their control. They made that decision.
Right.
What about
something
illness?
That's by default.
Yeah. What if they like get sick? And that's a struggle. You know what I mean? Like,
what's sick?
But then again, that's not really a red flag, so I guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't think that's a red flag so much.
Yeah.
That has more to do with commitment. I think.
Yeah, you're right.
But I think as far as red flags go, I think it's very important, just in thinking about this topic, to have your standards and set them so that you know what you are willing to accept.
And have your boundaries, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But on the same hand, I think it's case by case. So
I agree. And we should not shame those who choose to stay.
Right.
If they are,
because your flag is not my flag.
Exactly.
All the time.
Exactly.
So it's same color, but it's not,
your flag is not my flag. I like that.
It's true.
Might be a little flag.
Right. And there are
that.
different flags. And it depends on how I was brought up. It depends on a lot of different dynamics, what one would consider a flag. And like you said, you can't knock somebody if they stay in a friendship, if they stay in a relationship, because perception is very different in certain levels.
Very, very true. Well, is it? It's affirmation time. That was real
I was
weak.
gonna do it. I'm here for it. Okay, affirmation for the week. I changed it back to the first one. I can get through anything. There are no problems, only challenges.
Amen. I can get through anything. There's no problems, only challenges.
There it is.
Are you up to the challenge?
Run!
Well, Sharice, thank you so much for being with us today. We had a wonderful conversation with you, as I knew it would be.
Sorry I kept cutting you off, but the way my memory's set up,
it's all right.
If I don't get it out, I'll never get to it.
Yeah.
It's all right. I enjoy
You already know.
It's fine. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for the topic, too. Yes, you were wonderful. Yes, thank you so much for the topic as well.
I won't be giving you any more.
Just so you know. Well, give them up. Just say you ain't coming.
Okay.
Yeah,
or say you want to sit at the bar.
Say, okay, yes, I can do that.
Chime in.
I can do that.
At the bar.
Sounds good.
All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful week. We will talk to you again next week. Bye.
Bye.
If you are enjoying the Common Woman podcast and would like to support, please like, subscribe, and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you would like to contact the Common Woman podcast, you can email us at thecommonwomanpodcast@gmail.com or reach out to us on social media on Instagram @The Common Woman Podcast and on Twitter @Common Woman Pod. Thank you for your support.